Are you an athlete?
That's a great question. I still have dreams/nightmares of college softball. I still have a year of eligibility left as like a 44-year-old. And I'm like, I'm ready to play. I know I'm a bit older. Or like I'm late, I'm gonna be late for practice or I forgot my glove. I was done 22 years ago. It's still in me. I also teach my girls that you can act differently than you feel. I don't feel like a loud, talkative person. I'm very introverted. I can act differently than that. I think my last college game was probably the hardest. I can still remember my center fielder and myself like just tearing up, crying after the game on the field and just like, now what? It was a little sad and depressing, I would say, but I didn't quit playing. I think it was around age 35 that I decided to hang up the cleats. I think I grieved for 13 years.
Yeah.
And you're giving me a lot to think about. I wasn't expecting that. I love this though.
We're sitting down today with someone who has shaped so many athletes over the years, including yours truly. Meet April Schermann, a retired D1 softball player, a longtime high school coach, and an award-winning educator. Scherm's been coaching for over 21 years, teaching not just the game, but also the mental toughness, leadership, and the identity that come with it. We get into the athlete mindset that never really leaves and the struggle of transitioning out of competition. And if you've ever wondered whether you're still an athlete, even if you haven't laced up in years, this episode is for you.
Sure. Are you an athlete?
That's a great question. I feel like I should say yes, but part of me wants to answer I used to play sports.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I will always be an athlete because I'm a competitor for life.
Absolutely. From the day I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do the same thing though.
Yeah.
I feel like I should say I'm an athlete.
No, I'm going to change this. I am an athlete.
Yes.
Yes, I am an athlete. I would like to change my answer. I am an athlete.
You are allowed to change your answer because it's my podcast and we can do whatever we want. How often do people ask you about it?
I don't feel like I've really ever been asked the question, am I an athlete? Maybe my very first year teaching at Normal West High School.
Okay.
I walked across the gym and then Bernie Charo said, who is this athlete and why is she not playing basketball for me? She didn't realize that I was just a young teacher. So apparently still had an athletic build.
That feels so right. That literally feels so right.
Yeah.
And just knowing all people involved in that situation, that is a perfect story.
So that might be the last time, which was 22 years ago, maybe.
Well, I will say, and this will kind of start getting into a little bit of the background, you have always been an athlete in my brain.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I had the pleasure of having you as a coach.
It was sixth grade.
It was literally the first year that sixth graders could be in the junior high.
Mm-hmm.
And you were coaching softball at the high school at that time.
I was.
You were always, I think ever since I've known you, you've always been the high school softball coach.
Yes.
But you trickled down.
I did.
Into some junior high basketball.
I did.
Did you do 1 season, 2 seasons?
I did. I might
more
have done
than that.
3 or 4 seasons.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
But I believe I coached you 6th and 7th grade.
That's what it was.
So, yeah.
Scherm was my junior high basketball coach. And she was the coolest then and now.
Thank you.
But give us a little bit about your athlete story.
So I have an older brother who's 7 years older than me. And in my neighborhood, there were really no girls. Mm-hmm. So I got to play with the boys. Yeah. And probably as long as I could walk, I was always playing some sport because of my older brother. So he took me everywhere with him. Let's say they were playing hockey and they needed a goalie. They would hype me up. They're like, you're the best goalie we've ever seen.
In the neighborhood.
I think they just needed a little target, but I put my softball glove on. I had no mask. They were shooting real pucks and I would toughen up. And if I got hit, he would just tell me to grit my teeth. You're tough.
Hype you up.
Yeah. So I think just having an older brother who was an athlete, playing with the boys, I played baseball, football, anything with them that I possibly could.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started. And then when I got into organized sports, I think I was 5 years old and I got enrolled in T-ball.
Yep.
That's where it started.
Yep.
And then I think when I was 9, I picked up basketball.
Okay. Yeah.
I also was a bowler. I did bowl.
I bowled.
Yeah. So
yes, the gutter balls. When I was 8.
Oh, that's great. I stopped when I was after 8th grade because then I got more serious about basketball and entering high
You were
school.
probably a significantly better bowler than me.
think
I feel like you were like
I
good.
peaked in 7th grade.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was probably the best bowler that I will ever be, but I could work on it.
I like that. Always room for improvement.
Yeah. And so then I started playing basketball when I was 9, and then I started playing volleyball when I was in 6th grade. Actually, it might have been 5th grade for volleyball. I've played sports my entire life. Yeah. Even through high school, I was a 3-sport athlete all 4 years, varsity level, volleyball, basketball, softball. Mm-hmm. So that was my growing up sports story. And then I knew I wanted to play softball in college.
When did you decide that?
I think I just knew.
You knew it early in high school.
Yeah, okay. I think softball was truly my love, but I also loved basketball. Uh-huh. But I just realized if I wanted to play Division I sports, it was very rare to do both. Totally. So softball, I'd played the longest. It was my true love. And I got a couple opportunities. Illinois State actually was not my number one choice.
Really?
I wanted to go to Iowa or Mizzou.
Okay.
I wanted to go into engineering. I needed to get like a official visit out of the way. So I was like, oh, Illinois State has been recruiting me for a while.
Yeah.
I will go there. Well, I went there and I fell in love with everything. This is sort of nerdy for me to say, but it totally describes me. I loved their athletic study center. I was like, oh, there's a place that I can go and study and print and have a computer.
Yeah.
This is fabulous. So I fell in love with everything at Illinois State University. It was just something special about this place, and continued to play softball all throughout college and then after. But I did miss basketball. So the head coach didn't know, but there were some of us that played basketball in high school, and we would go like play at the rec, or we would play
you know, like the little pickup moments where you're like, okay, please tell me coach is not gonna like accidentally be walking through this part of the gym right now.
She probably would have killed us.
We had a couple of those. Yeah, that sounds right. And then now you teach and you coach.
I do.
And you've now been the head coach at West for
21 years.
21 years, ladies and gentlemen.
I know. This year's the most challenging year, but I love a challenge. Yes. So I graduated like almost all of my starters. And so at the start of this year, every position on the field was filled by a new person. So it's been a challenge. It's a good challenge.
Yeah, that is a good challenge for you. And I have to say, recent STEM teacher, computer science.
Yep.
Tell me the official.
I am the PLTW National Computer Science Teacher of the Year.
Yes, you are.
And I also just recently got named the Illinois State University Legacy Teacher of the Year. And just last year, I was one of 100 teachers that Disney recognized for the Disney 100 Teachers Recognition. I got a free trip out to
freaking go
Disneyland.
Yes.
I took all the teachers to Disneyland. It was amazing.
You deserve it.
Thank you.
But I think about that often. My brain knew it, but also just like how much of a role model you were to me when I first met you. Because again, too, you were totally young teacher, coaching, you were doing your stuff over here, you were coaching basketball, you were a 3-sport athlete in high school. I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a mini Scherm.
Yeah.
In all the ways. And it's beautiful. Yeah. So how do you feel now? Part of this podcast is, all right, when we're athletes, we have post-game interviews. We have all the different things. People are asking us what the score was the other day. People are asking us what our stats are. And then when we stop playing competitively, people aren't asking anymore.
Right.
Or we don't have an answer.
Right.
So like, do you remember your transition out of playing competitively? Did you go into coaching pretty quickly?
I did, but I was still playing. I couldn't give it up.
There it is.
So I stopped at Illinois State after my senior year. I think I was 21 or 22.
Okay.
And then did my student teaching at Normal West High School, got hired.
Right.
I was a volunteer coach. I also coached junior high softball. And then right after like my first year of teaching, I went in to be the head coach. But I was like 22, 23 years old. I was very young.
Yes.
But I was a baller. I was still playing softball competitively.
Sorry, she was a player coach, everybody. She was a player coach.
I was a player coach. So in the summer, I would still play competitively women's. So at that time, which was a very interesting time, they didn't have women's professional fast pitch because I 100% would have given my go at that. I would have had try out.
You so would have.
But they kind of disbanded the league for a little while. And then I started teaching. And then by the time it came back, I was kind of far removed. But I still played competitive women's softball up against like the youngins, some veteran players that I played with. And I think it was around age 35 that I decided that it was time to hang up the cleats.
That was the official. How you been doing since then?
I think okay. I think my last college game was probably the hardest. I can still remember my center fielder and myself like just tearing up, crying after the game on the field, and just like, now what? Because this is it.
Yeah.
What do we do now? And so both her and I continued to play competitive softball, but it just wasn't the same. That wasn't, NCAA Division I.
Totally.
We weren't trying to compete for championships. So it was a little sad and depressing, I would say, but I didn't quit playing until like 13 years later. Yeah. But at that time, when I'm like 35, I was okay.
Yeah.
So I think I like grieved for like 13 years.
Yeah.
But it was spread out over those 13 years.
It was the dosage.
You
were just decreasing your dosage.
It was.
Two, saying it that way and saying you grieved, I think is so important. And I think through my like having conversations with other people and just like doing my own work on myself, I think there does need to be more conversation around like commit to the grieve part. It's never going to be the same.
Right.
It's literally never going to be the same.
Erin, I just had a moment. I still have dreams / nightmares of like college softball. And some of my dreams are, I still have a year of eligibility left as like a 44-year-old. And I'm like, I'm ready to play. I know I'm a bit older. Like I still have these dreams, or like I'm late. I'm going to be late for practice, or I forgot my glove. I'm 44. I was done 22 years ago, and it's still in me. It's still there.
Like literally wakes you up still.
Yeah.
It's in you so much.
Yeah. And the dreams are so real and so vivid.
Yeah.
And I do have some basketball dreams too. It was very strange. It's like I could still play high school basketball. Yeah. Like I never wanted to give up basketball.
It's always been in you. It's always been in you. I'm the worst because I don't ever remember my dreams, but Alex on the regular will have like, she will forget one shoe. Or she'll get there and open her bag and her like jersey shorts aren't in there. And it'll be like all these different weird situations, but like, and it's visceral.
We can't just be the only ones that have these dreams.
Most definitely.
I feel like there are a lot of stories about memories and dreams that are still with us.
And again, too, it's like then where my brain goes off of that is, okay, so it's like, all right, I'm nervous that something, I'm not a dream interpreter. Is it like, I'm nervous about this, but it's also just like in sport, you had to make sure your jerseys were in your bag. You had to make sure you had all your stuff. Otherwise, you were going to get to the school and you weren't going to be able to play.
Right.
So it's like, that's probably why we hold it so dearly.
Right.
Of the like, oh my gosh, I just showed up without my thing.
Yeah.
That means I can't play. Right. That is like...
That's true fear. That's fear, right? That's some real fear. Right
haunting.
It is.
That is haunting. We're saying, no former athlete. It's not about sports. Because it's not about sports. It's about the athlete playing the sport.
Right.
And how the heck we're all doing.
Yeah.
And like what things, like you just said with the dream, are still coming up. Where you're just like, wait, what? And you're still in the sports.
Right.
So like you're still deep in it. You're on a schedule. You're in season right now.
Right.
Do you still have those moments of like, oh, I wish I was out there. I wish I could just do that for them. Or have you gotten to where you're like, no, I'm totally in coach lens?
I think at my age, I'm okay with coach lens, but I still have my cleats. I still have my glove. And there are times where I'm like, I want to get out there and show them how to dive and how to hustle and how to put a bunt down because I know I can still do it. Some of my players of the past will tell you that, Coach, I think I did this within 5 years, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. My girls were not diving. And I'm in my 40s and I was like, let me show you what hustle looks like. So, I mean, it's ingrained in me. And I think the fact that I'm still in education and still a coach, like I still haven't let that go or given it up. Now in 12 years when I've retired, we might have to revisit this story and you can ask me how I'm doing.
We will have a return podcast, everybody. We will have a return episode. Yeah. But too, even the way that you word it is when I give it all up.
Yeah.
When I retire and I give it all up.
Yeah, but it's still, I know you're catching me. I'm not going to give it all up. It's still going to be there.
I know.
I'm going to probably funnel it into pickleball, to be honest. I love pickleball.
Oh, us too.
Okay.
Next time Alex comes back to visit, the four of us. Okay. Yeah. It's just so many ways that it comes up, and it just like presents itself in different ways and how we interact with people and who we spend our time with and all of that. And it's really interesting. I actually just talked to Jill Hutchison earlier, which you put me in contact with. So thank you.
Jill's the goat.
She's amazing. But she was talking too, now that she's done the transition from player to coach and now coach fully into retirement, she was bringing up a beautiful point of, actually, yes, player to coach is hard, but for her, coach into retirement was something that I don't think she had prepared for as much as like she would tell someone else to prepare for.
Sure.
Because from her perspective, kind of in that same way, the finally give it up, is you play and then, for one reason or another, whether it's body, whether it's choice, all of that, then you transition out and then you're only coaching, but you're still in the sport. You're still in the grind.
Right.
You're still in the day and you're still in the schedule and all of that. And then she was like, it was that next step, which for her, she was like, and then my friend pulled me into broadcasting.
See, so she funneled it into a different avenue. I've been on such a schedule and such a structure for so many years that when I do retire, I know I need structure. I love structure. I love a calendar. So I know that will still be with me and be in me. That's that athlete part of me that will never die.
Yeah. It's just more of I come up with all the things that are in the calendar.
Yes. Instead of the calendar being given to me.
Which I'm not going to lie, sometimes it's hard. Oh, wait. So the freedom is fully mine to choose all the things. It's not like, okay, well, practice is going to have to be at this time, or, the game schedule has to happen because it's coordinated with the other team.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are some things
I'll toss that out for you.
Okay.
I'll toss that out for you. Yeah. Okay. As someone who's not coaching or playing anymore, I have a random question, which I keep forgetting to ask everybody, but I'm trying to ask everybody. What is your relationship to showers?
Traumatic. Our coach would force us to shower after games. Many of the colleges provided public showers, not single stalls. Yeah. And it was like mortifying. I absolutely hated it.
You hated it.
Is that what you're asking about?
No, it's not, but I love where you took that.
Okay, so that is the first thought that came to mind.
Interesting.
Putting myself back into college and us before we get on the bus and ride home, which, I mean, I get it. Like, we're all disgusting. So
but still.
Hygiene and cleanliness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just am going to keep
That's
asking
a random question.
everybody. It's a very random question. And the reason that I bring it up is I find myself, if I haven't, worked out that day. I didn't earn my shower.
You didn't earn your shower.
I didn't earn my shower. I didn't deserve my shower, which is a whole nother
that's an interesting
self-worth, self-care moment.
There's a traumatic experience involved with showering and being forced to do that. So.
I respect that. I respect that. But I very much have in the workout. Am I good at sticking to anything? Literally horrible.
Why?
I don't know. Do you do that too?
I am the same way. The times that I have been the best at sticking to something is when I went to Orange Theory.
Yeah. Because
someone else is pushing me to work out. I'm being coached by someone. Yeah. And that made me feel like an athlete again because I'm pushing myself. I'm staring myself down in the mirror. It's just a really good competitive environment. But I'm like, why can't I do that for myself? I know I am very capable, but so I'm the same way. I don't know.
I know. I was really hoping that was your mentor moment where you were just going to really drop me with some knowledge. But I also think that that's even more important where it's and it stays hard. Yeah. Always team sports.
Yep.
You too.
Yeah.
So you show up and you do whatever is told for you to do at practice. And we played 3 sports through high school. So we went from one season to another.
That group synergy, that group fitness atmosphere, I think I thrive on that.
Yeah.
So working out by myself is just not the same.
Yeah. And I think I just need to get to the point of accepting that that's okay.
Yeah.
I definitely have a second layer of why are you going to go spend money and have somebody else, tell you what to do or join a gym where I can see patients out of the gym that we have at home and we have all the things. It's there's so much knowledge, but that also fully gets in my way. If you're going to do that exercise, then you better actually work on your rotator cuff,
Yeah.
And I'm like, Erin.
Why are we standing in our own way?
Yes.
You have the equipment. We have a workout room as well. Yes. We have no excuses. In fact, this wristband that I wear says
no excuses.
No excuses. I know better.
Yeah.
So it's the knowing but not doing part that I'm lacking. And I wish I had an answer for you. If I figure it out, I will definitely let you know.
Thank you. I feel for me, part of it too, I find that I struggle more with people not being able to see me walk down the street. I don't feel I look like an athlete. Every adult that I met in my life growing up, oh, what sports do you play?
Right.
I'm sure you had the same thing.
I did. Yeah. I mean, I actually was kind of shy when I was in school and high school. And I was always a very good athlete. When I got to college, because I was so quiet and I was a shortstop, my college coach was like, Bill, if you're going to be the shortstop here, you need to learn how to talk, even though that's not how I, perceive myself. Yeah. So it was just me and her and several buckets of balls and maybe like a screen or a net at first. And she'd hit me a ground ball. I'd throw it to the screen. Yeah. And I'd have to go high five my imaginary teammates and show the number of outs of the outfield and talk the whole time. Yeah. After a few buckets, I was like, I get your point. Yeah. And so I also teach my girls that you can act differently than you feel. How I started is your feelings don't matter. I'm like, Coach, did you really just say your feelings don't matter? I did. And what that means is you can act differently than you feel. So even though I don't feel like a loud, talkative person, I'm very introverted, I can act differently than that. Yeah. So you kind of just have to act differently than you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. To get that end goal, to achieve that ultimate thing.
Yeah. And you're giving me a lot to think about. I wasn't expecting that. I love this though. I love to grow and I love to think.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I love you sharing that too though, because mental toughness versus like mental awareness and mental health. Right. I feel like is being talked about a lot right now in a good way.
Mental health, I think in my 22 years of being an educator, 21 years of being the head softball coach, I feel like the last 5 to 7 years, it's become more of like an issue that we need to discuss and talk about. And it is a real thing. Yeah. Mental toughness is something a little different because that's the grittiness. That's the part of the athlete that you want to instill. And I actually started intentionally teaching mental toughness to my team after it's probably been 13 to 15 years ago. We were like ranked the number 1 team in the state and we lost in sectionals. And I was like, why did we just fold? What happened? And so then I was like, well, we kind of crumbled under pressure. Maybe I need to intentionally teach my girls how to be mentally tough. And so for the last, let's say 13 to 15 years, I've really been intentional about teaching them mental toughness. And how I think that helps with their mental health is one of the things that I teach them is basically recognize your signal lights. If you think of a stoplight, green, yellow, red. Green means go. If you are in green, just as an athlete, as a person, things are good, things are great. Once you start to lose control, you slip into yellow. And so now I'm in yellow. I'm not at my best state of mind. What can I do? So I teach them to basically recognize where they're at. If they're not in green, maybe they're at yellow. Then they need to release. So we do something physical as a softball player. They take off their glove, they pick up dirt, they throw it, they mess with their batting gloves. But like as a person, what I teach my students is, what do you do to release when you're not in your green light, when you're not feeling good, doing good? And so we talk about healthy ways to release, maybe like working out, going for a walk, playing with your pets, reading a book, listening to music, whatever your thing is.
Good, get some good endorphins in there.
And then the last step is to refocus. So it's recognize, release, refocus. If you happen to get into the red light, that's where you're shut down, you're crying, things aren't going your way. It's going to take you a little bit longer to get back into the green, but just teaching them that 3-step process. Recognize where you're at. If you're not at your best, what can you do to release and refocus? So that is my only mental toughness tie into mental health. But I am aware that mindfulness and just being more aware of my kids' needs because things have changed and things are now being talked about more. And I'm very much aware of that. And I'm 100% for kids needing breaks when they need breaks.
Totally.
What's your take?
And I've heard it a couple different ways recently where it's like mental toughness has been so praised as a skill of an athlete.
Sure.
I think that is correct. The adversities that we go through, whether it, just be a loss and just feeling crappy about it, but having to get yourself back out of it for the next game, whether it's a play, you shank a ball, whatever it is. I think when maybe the mental health side of it wasn't always talked about it as much, especially when I was growing up and when we were in high school, and like we weren't, wasn't really, it was there. Yeah. It's not like people all of a sudden started having, these feelings, thoughts, emotions and all of that, but it just wasn't talked about. Right. And I think that same mental toughness that is great and can keep people moving forward to the next thing, sometimes, at least for me, was very much a like compartmentalization. That does not belong in the same person. Even like saying it out loud now, I'm like, okay, but also that's what I loved about sport. You showed up to the gym, whatever paper you were stressed about, whatever test was coming, you left it at the door. Zen, like the gym, the field, whatever it was, like that was Zen moment, because all you had to do was focus on the thing at hand.
Right.
So I feel like that's where mental toughness is good. And I think it is still a skill that as athletes we use now. But I do think there's that piece of sometimes it gets pushed so far. And then if that's our only mental skill, then that's when we have that imbalance of like, yes, it's good to be mentally tough. But if your version of mentally tough means you just ignore the fact that emotions exist, then that's when we have some of the issues.
Yeah, definitely issues arise. I mean, you could probably count and name off student athletes who have had serious enough issues that have taken their own life. And there's books and speakers that go out and talk about it. But yeah, that is definitely one thing that I take very, very seriously.
Absolutely.
So if a kid is struggling, then what steps can we take to get them the help that they need? Because that's not, just shake it off, rub some dirt on it. No, like we're going to address this because this is a thing that they're going to probably deal with for the rest of their life. And who, in the role that I'm in as a teacher and a coach, I can be that person. I can help them advocate for themselves. I'm not in
a way that maybe they don't always
instead
feel
of like
heard.
You need to put that off to the side, leave the garbage at the gate, and the old school way of coaching and teaching, which I was coached that way. I'm sure you were as well with some coaches, and that I think we still value that.
I get it.
But there's also that piece that you're talking about. Like, that's not an issue that we need to ignore. That is a serious issue that needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Coaching for so long, there are some times where I'm like, this kid needs this sport more than the sport needs the kid. And so, some people are like, oh, are you going to cut so-and-so? I'm like, no, because they need this. Yeah. And so I can be there to give them this opportunity to have their outlet.
Yeah. Which also, like, good on you. I know you didn't say that, like, wanting praise or things like that, but, like, that needs to be a thing that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not, you are still highly competitive. You are still an extremely successful coach, even keeping these kids that enrich the team in another way.
Yeah.
Even if it's the sport that helps them, they're still touching someone else on the team.
Absolutely.
In that way too.
And we have an acronym. It's ONE, ONE, that we only need everyone. And so everyone knows what their role is. Yeah. Maybe your role is you are here to cheer on your teammates. You are here to. Yeah. So even though you might not see the field, you still are a very valuable part of this team. And so we embrace one. And I think that kind of goes back to when I was a college athlete. I remember early on, the players that were on scholarship versus the walk-ons were like, we feel like we are being treated unfairly. Like the scholarship players are treating us with disrespect. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, mental note, when I'm a captain, which I was captain junior and senior year, things are going to change. And I didn't realize that I was doing this until after the fact, because my college coach, she'd have me come back and talk to her captains even when I was done playing.
Yeah, she would.
About like something that I chose to do as a junior in college. I, on bus rides, would sit next to a different person every single trip. Not next to my friends, my clique, but I thought it was important, especially to get to know student athletes that were not on scholarship, because I remember my early years of them saying, we don't feel like the scholarship players respect us. And I'm like, you're on this team.
You're literally on this team. You put the same jersey on.
Right.
That I'm putting on.
And so that I knew wasn't going to fly when I was in a leadership role. And I think that's also, as a coach, why I choose to make sure everyone feels valued.
Yeah. Yeah. You're good like that.
There are no little people. There's people that do their job to make whatever organization run, and everyone needs to be valued and respected.
Yeah. Amazing. What other thoughts and things are you having right now?
So I think when you would ask me to talk on your podcast, I really started to reflect about like my time and my life. And I think because of coaching and teaching, I still feel like the athlete that I had always been as a little tiny child. And I don't believe that will ever go away. And I appreciate you kind of getting me to reflect on that, because that is such an ingrained part of who I am. It's part of my character. It's part of my makeup. And I just get to do it differently. So yes, I'm not putting on the glove and putting on the cleats and going out there to compete, but I get to do things in a different way that are still qualities and characteristics of an athlete. I think, it's been a very like reflective several days, and I appreciate that, because it's such a huge part of my life. And I never want to not say that I'm an athlete.
Right.
Even though I don't put on the cleats and wear the glove, I'm still an athlete, and I always will be, no matter what it is. But I also don't want to have the she's too competitive and she's only in it for herself. No, I think like, I've got like a motto or something that sort of guides what I do, and that's be good to yourself, be excellent to others, and do everything with love. And that has sort of been my motto as a teacher and a coach and as a person. Be good to yourself, be excellent to others, do everything with love. And no matter what area of life I'm in, those three things are very important to me. And excellence isn't just about yourself. I mean, if you can be excellent, then you can bring others around you up. And so I'm just a person who believes that energy is definitely very fluid, and it can be uplifting or it can work the opposite way. So I try to surround myself with people that lift me up, that I can lift up, and I choose to stay away from negative energy because I don't want to be brought down. So those are just some thoughts I've been having.
I love those thoughts. And my favorite is that of your kind of ethos, your motto there, number one is be good to yourself. You have to be good to yourself first so that you can even do the other things.
True.
A random thought sparked. Were you a part, do you remember when Pat Summitt came and spoke at ISU?
I do.
Okay. Were you coaching at the time?
I was.
Okay.
I was.
I think you took us, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever think about that?
I do, because I remember exactly what I asked her.
What did you ask her?
Because I was young at the time, and so I, was always busy in life. I just asked her, how do you balance everything? Because she was a mom, and she was this amazing, successful coach.
This was like pinnacle of coaching career too. Like she was in the midst of all the national championships.
And she basically said, you figure out a balance that works for you, that you can do the things you want to do. And I know she didn't say it this way, but it's been said to me this way, and I say it to others, that you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So that's really empowering. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And that sort of sums up what Pat Summitt had told me.
Absolutely.
Is just sort of choose what you want to put your time and energy and passion into. And just remember that you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And I need to say that to myself more often.
I seriously still have like core memory. Junior high kid.
Yeah.
It was during the school day.
Yeah.
It was a field trip.
Yep.
For only the girls basketball players. Like that was baller.
What? I mean, how did that happen?
And that year too.
I know.
They were just like, yep. And because if I remember right, I think she was in town, like giving a talk at State Farm headquarters. And then basically the athletic directors or ISU or someone within, everything.
Right.
Probably Jill.
Could be Jill.
Probably Jill. Jill, I'm going to reach out and ask you about that one. Every junior high, every high school, like all the local area girls teams.
Yes.
So I just remember getting on the bus, going in the middle of the school day, and then we walked in and we all just sat at our teams, and like all the girls that we played against in inner city were just like all there together. I still remember, and this you'll now see where kind of the thought spurred from. So one of the things that she said was surround yourself with winners. And she like went into her whole thing and talked about, how like you are a combination of like the 5 people you spend the most time with and all of that. So like surround yourself with winners, whatever winner means to you.
Sure.
But in what you were just saying too, that kind of took me to that, like, surround yourself with that goodness, surround yourself with that energy. And what a freaking cool experience. Are you kidding me?
I know. How did that happen? But everything aligned and it worked out. And these core memories that have all added up because, you are a sum of your previous todays. All of those things, even little things or big things, they've all added up to make you who you are. And you're doing amazing things with your life. And I'm happy to have just a small part of your journey to where you're at.
In the ages that we were on that same day.
Yeah. It's both ingrained.
Here we are now.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's incredible. Yeah.
So you already kind of answered this at the beginning, but April Schermann, are you an athlete?
I am an athlete.
I love that.
Just kind of reflecting on your life and your story and realizing that saying that I'm a former athlete, no, you're not. You are always an athlete. And once you start talking about it and thinking about it, you will realize that that athlete inside of you is still there and it still exists and it's still part of your being. Every single ounce of me is an athlete. So I'm not quite sure at the beginning, while I said, I think I should answer it this way, I feel like I now will say, yes, I am an athlete. Yeah. Every part of my being, every part of my core are the qualities of an athlete. And I'm still that athlete that I was as a tiny child. Yeah. It's still there. And I think people that are saying that they're former athletes really encourage you to reflect on your time and think about that athlete is still within you.
Yeah.
This is fun. This is so fun. Oh, this is awesome.
If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review. You taking that 5 minutes makes a huge difference and helps us to be able to make more episodes like this. And if you want to see more content in between the episodes, follow us at NoFormerAthlete on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm so glad you're a part of this No Former Athlete community. And if you know any No Former athletes that you think I should get in touch with, DM me on Instagram at NoFormerAthlete. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.